Well, good morning. It's We are doing this live on a Friday morning, and I woke up. I've been sick for the past couple of days, so I have my yummy tea here and my Switzerland's cup that's going to make me feel better. And let me hit record as we get going. Well, hello and welcome to RT1, or maybe want to be RT1. My name is Maria, and I've been doing part-time paint parties for 14 years. So thank you for joining me. If you're looking to start a part-time side hustle and creatively make money using art, you are in the right place. I love to share more about my journey and how I started. And today we're going to be talking about painting with kids and how that really transformed my business. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about how I stumbled my way in there because I'm not an art teacher. I'm not an artist. I wasn't an artist. Let me fix my screen really quick here. And so I like to share how I kind of stumbled upon this business and also teaching kids and being with kids. And I don't like to actually use the word teach kids because we're not teachers. We're doing fun art, not fine art. If you haven't seen a video I've talked about on that, it's our artsy manifesto, and we're really just about having fun and bringing art to parties and having events. And so when I started my business 14 years ago, I wanted to stay home with my boys who were in middle school. And I had stumbled upon this business because I had wanted to, let me just make sure we're streaming okay. I had wanted to be able to stay home with him or have a little bit more of a flexible schedule. I had started doing a lot more things with my church, like going on mission trips and things like that. And so just having a regular day job wasn't cutting it for me necessarily. And I had always wanted to have one of those like art studios. Now there are a lot more of them today, but in my neighborhood there wasn't any like extra real estate around. I lived in a brand new community, and my dream was to have this art studio, or this studio. It wasn't an art studio, it was kind of like old school home ec, wood shop, sewing. At the time 14 years ago, I loved the show like Project Runway. It was one of my favorite shows, but I didn't know how to sew. And I always thought, man, I wish I had paid attention in home ec when they were doing sewing. And so I had been already dreaming up a place like this, but I was not an entrepreneur. I didn't have any startup capital, and it was really just a dream. And so I kind of stumbled upon this painting and sipping thing. And I had thought, I wish, in my studio, in this thing that I want to have, I would hire someone like that to be a mobile paint party business who would come into my studio, my workshop where we were doing wood shop and painting and home ec and crocheting and learning all the hobbies, of the 1900s. Um, and especially for my boys, I had middle school boys, for them to learn wood shop and things like that. And I was also their Cub Scout leader. And so just fun little memories like that. So I had been dreaming up this business, right? And so when I had told my best friend about my business idea, she had went to one of those paint and sip places, and she's like, hey, if your business that you're dreaming up is anything like this painting and sipping thing, there's like 80 women here right now drinking mimosas and we're all painting, and it is a blast. And so we just kept thinking about that. And I thought, well, maybe to start up money, or to make money in the meantime, to start this other business that I want to have, maybe I'll just do like mobile paint parties, right? Like maybe that will happen. And it happened. My sister-in-law had a paint and sip at her house, and we just copied some picture off the internet. And from there, the stories just, all of it just kind of started building up on creating a mobile paint party business to make extra money. And sure enough, it made great money to be able to be a stay-at-home mom, to have a flexible schedule, to build something on the side that I could call my own. And then little did I know that my best friend would join me. We would recruit people all over across the country. I would find one of my new best friends in North Dakota, and we would keep going from there. And here we are today, where after COVID, I decided to go back to work in the nonprofit space because of just different passions around that. And I'm still doing paint parties. I still do paint parties. I'm not a stay-at-home mom anymore. I would like to say I work in a mentoring space. So I do work with youth today. And I do bring art into everything that we do there as well, because art just works with anything that you're working on. But I wouldn't say that my paint party business, I specifically work with kids any longer. And I'll share more about that here as we get going. I primarily work in the company or corporate space. I work with really large contracts and things like that now. And that's how your business can evolve. And some people just always love working with kids too. So that's great too. So let me get to the story of how I got to working with kids. So I started out painting with just women, right? I just wanted to have a mom's night out, like moms painting and sipping, getting away from their kids, because that's where I lived in suburbia. And that was fun and great. And I was 2 months into my business, and my friend down the street said, "Hey, could you do one of those paint things for my kids over winter break? I'll have my girls invite some of their friends over, and can you guys just come over and paint? Just like what you do with the adults, but just come paint with the kids." And I was like, "Well, yeah, of course I could go do that with kids." So it was a group of kids from the neighborhood. We came, and I didn't have any really like kid painting necessarily. And it was winter, so I needed like a new painting anyway. So we painted like some snowman. It was so easy. And I got there to set up. And what I realized after have done a couple of adult events now by this point, I thought, oh my gosh, this is like easier than painting with adults because kids, if you're in the room with 100 kids or 100 adults, and you say, who is an artist? 100 kids will be like, me, right? Like they're like raising their hands because they saw that joy and that belief and that whimsy about them that believes that they are an artist. And so when you paint with 100 women, you're going to get like one who might be brave enough to say that they're an artist. And so the reality is, and I say this to all of them, I tell them that actually, I tell everybody that when I get to painting, because adults are so hard on themselves. And you might not be an artist in the sense of like you sell and commission your work, but there's an inner artist within all of us that can create and learn how to create. And children are just learners. Like that's their whole world, is being a learner, right? And so working with kids, the other thing I discovered was it was faster, it was less stress, like in the sense of like putting yourself out there. And they are just so creative. Like they're gonna kind of follow your rules, but they're kind of not gonna follow your rules. And so you do have to learn some patience. And oh, and then the hardest part of working with kids, honestly, is dealing with the parents if they're around. And not necessarily your hostess, because your hostess invited you there, but like if any parents are there for a birthday party and they're like hovering around their kid or something, that can add a little stress to it as well. So in this call, in this video, I want to just be able to show you how to like the different types of kids events, and then really how to get yourself out there and how to put yourself out there as like a trusted person, as a fun personality, and someone who's going to want to invite you into their home to have a birthday party, or is going to sign up their kids for your class at the local rec center or community center. And just how to how to start working in this area, especially if you're newly building your paint and sip business or paint party business, is like where to start, like how to get there, right? So I'll cover a lot of those different things in our call today. And I did in the email, if you're getting our emails, why do parents love this type of party? Parents, especially today. I mean, even when I was doing kids events 10 years ago or whatever, parents, of course, are just looking for creative, fun new ways to have birthday parties and to sign their kids up for additional enrichment. There's so much focus on extra sports or club sports, but not all kids play sports. And quite honestly, some of those club sports and things like that are pricey. And so, and then even in the off season, like what are these kids doing for extra enrichment? And the reality is, especially in the public school space, is kids are in the public school space, their art is being cut. So in this case, art is just, it's great. Parents aren't vetting you as like some art teacher, and you're never presenting yourself as an art teacher. You're presenting yourself as like an after school club or something to expose children to being able to just create. And we're not necessarily teaching them artwork techniques or components, or just getting to play with paint and getting to have time set apart to be creative. All right, so that's why, and parents are looking for like something that's not screen, because you can do online paint parties. Someone could pop in a video and watch you and paint at home. We have done that. We did do that during COVID, but now like they will need human interaction, right? So after school clubs, things like that. And then let's see what else I have in my notes here. So I told you a little bit about why what the other thing that I liked about kids parties was they ended up painting faster. So what I recognized was, an adult paint and sip could be there. I could be on site for 2 to 3 hours. Then you have your half hour before and after to clean up. And really like 2 hours, I try to keep my adult paint parties there. But my kids' birthday parties, like sometimes I'd be there half hour to set up, an hour to paint, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, and then a half hour to clean up. Like it's fairly quick depending on how many kids you have and depending on the painting that you pick. So it was faster as well. All right, so let me just show you some slides because I think it is helpful for you to see some images, and especially if you haven't necessarily seen kids. So we're going to go ahead and share screen one. I've started to, I'm having problems showing my screen. So I thought I would just show you here. Let's just make sure this is showing up. Hold on. Okay, I don't know why I'm struggling to see this. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm having some tech challenges as usual. Okay, I'm just going to show them to you from here because I just want to make sure we can see them. So give me 1 second here. Hopefully you can see my screen. There you go. I think you can see it. Okay, good. Anyhow, so these pictures here that you see, I like to just share with you a variety of pictures. The top right corner here, this is a picture from Mandy, who's an artsy coach here at Artsy, and she does an event at a local rec center. And it was a monthly event like the first Wednesday of every month. And kids would come and paint, and she would often have the same kids every month sign up, and then they would take breaks. So this is a picture of them on a little painting break having popsicles. So when you have a club or something, a repeated kind of event, we recommend that you always bring a snack. You take a dry break, and a snack break kind of removes the kids from the class. And in that case, you can charge, depending, having kids at your rec center community event for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and kind of plan that snack time. The top left photo is one that artsy coach Tammy had this painting. She had like an art club and in a series, and this was also an ice cream painting. The bottom center picture here that you see, like there's tons of kids there, is that's an after school club. So that, artsy coach Tammy, and I'm sorry, Dawn and Mandy, they do a lot of these summer clubs, and they have like 50, 60 painters at these after school clubs. And what's lovely about those groups is they have like the caretakers who are there all the time, and they're helping you set up cleanup and helping to manage with that many kids. So you're not alone on some of these things, or you're going to pay for your own helper. So imagine that, right? Imagine you have 60 kids at $15 a piece or $18 a piece, depending where you are in the country and what the school's budget is. Now, some of these after school clubs that pay for us to come in, they're like the summer camps, right? So the parents are paying for their kids to go to these summer camps, and those summer camps pay for field trips, right? They're renting a bus, they're driving the kids down to like Water World or the amusement park. And so when you present yourself as an in-school or in camp workshop, they're saving money by not paying for a bus to take everyone out, right? And so you come in and you transform that after school camp, you're going to be booked all the time, like for these summer camps in your neighborhood or in your area. And so and then this is the part, right? If you don't have kids, you don't know all these things are going on in the world. And so that's what we're here for, is to tell you what's going on. So you're calling schools, you're looking for after school clubs, you're polling people in your neighborhood to be like, what do you do with your kids over the summer or over winter break? Right now at the time of this recording, it's January and Martin Luther King Day is coming up. So what are parents doing on MLK Day? Like if you still have to go to work, you're doing something with your kids, right? So you ask yourself, where are kids gathering on MLK Day, or where are they getting together on President's Day? And if you call the school, you know, they likely have an after school club. And so you got to get ahead of it. Like I've already right now booked a couple summer camps because rec centers and schools and clubs, they're planning out their whole calendar long before they release it, right? So you got to get out early. And as soon as you get your name on their contact list and their safe vendor list, you're going to be on that list. All right, let's go to the next screen. So this, again, these are like birthday parties here. The picture on the right, actually, she's all grown up now, but that was actually during COVID. And we did an online party with kids, but that painting in particular is Sparkles, and it was a popular painting. And then, yeah, birthday parties, like just a fun way to do birthday. Now, predominantly, are you going to do girl parties? Probably. Painting tends to go there, but I have done several boy parties, and I've done like Pokemon parties and fun, just different things like that. So kids are great. Now, what size do I recommend for birthday parties? I recommend no more than like 10 to 15 kids. And I also recommend that you create a birthday package. And a birthday package is going to, that way you just have this base price, right? And I formatted a lot of my birthday party business off of, if I were to take my kids to Chuck E. Cheese, and I don't even know if Chuck E. Cheese exists anymore, like look at those jumping places and how many kids can you take to that? And people have to sign waivers and all that jazz, right? So you're going to perfect if birthdays are the way that you're going to go or start, you need to perfect your package, right? So you're going to want to have, $200 for 10 kids, or $200 and 10 kids and the birthday child paints for free, right? And I'm also going to bring a gift for the child for their birthday. And or you're going to pick, and you really don't want to do more than 10 to 15, because anyone's a normal regular house, fitting that many kids around a table or two tables is a lot. And that's a lot for any typical family. I would always get people would be like, how much should just charge me for like 5 or 6 kids? And your price needs to go up, right, per kid, because I have a minimum of how much I need to make at every party. Right now, my minimum is about 300, 350. So if someone's wanting to pay me for a birthday party for 300, 350, that's fine. But that is my minimum. But back in the day, when I first started doing paint parties with kids, my paint package was like $185. And now for sure you need to be over 200. So think of how you would design a birthday package, right? If you're working with kids. So I've talked about birthday parties. Of course, that's probably the number one area. How would you promote for that? Mom pages, all those things, like you got to go where the fish are swimming, right? And this is where helping to identify your ideal customer. So if kids are your ideal customer, that's fine. But who's paying for those kids? It's adults, right? And what type of customer is paying for their kids to do these types of things? You got to find out where those people are, right? And so moms are usually in those mom groups on Facebook, friends of friends. You're advertising in local little, magazines, or hanging flyers at the local rec center or your local yoga studio, or you got to find where the moms are, right? Because they're the ones paying for parties like this. All right, so that's birthday parties, pretty easy and fun. Let's talk more about those kids camps that I talked about. So not only after school camps like those, you're gonna find out what the local schools are doing. Rec centers also have those types of camps that they're doing fun things. So you can look in your local, we get a book every time for kids camps. You're going to call that community rec center director or program manager and set up a phone call or talk with them. And the other part of kids camps, though, because it's kind of two different terms. So those are like summer kids camps. But you can also hold art camps. So like over winter break or over summer break. Now, I have a really great friend, Jen, and she owns a studio called the Creatory Workshop. You can go look her up. And she's here in Colorado, and she actually franchises out. So if you're looking to have a studio, you can go with her. But she is the queen in my world of creating kids camps. And she creates these half-day kid camps or all-day kid camps. And she charges, she's told me that her kids camp is like 75% of her revenue for the year, right? Because parents will prepay for these kids camps like in February, March, And then that's for like 2 to 3 days a week in the summer, or back to back weeks, or this, every Wednesday in the summer or something like that. And she creates these themes. So it's like a sports art camp, and they're painting things around sports, or it's a superhero camp. And so you can create this repeat business and charge really, really great money for these summer camps where the kids just come and they're making art for 2 to 3 hours. Now, I have done this. I did this pre-COVID. I did 4 weeks of art camps back to back, and they all sold out. Now, granted, it was just 12 at a time because the room that I was in was pretty small, but that's a really great way. And you could create these themed camps. And I didn't get the pictures together for that, but I had like a polar bear or Arctic camp. And I'm sorry, it wasn't over a whole week. It was like every Monday, because the kids in my area don't go to school on Mondays. So it was like the 4 Mondays in a row. And the first week was Arctic camp. The next week was like a gnome camp. The next week was a snowman camp. And they come for 3 to 4 hours. And for that half day camp, we did 2 to 3 art projects. We had a snack. We took a walk around, and parents like to pay for that. And those kids got to know each other really well, and built their art skills. So that's another way that you can kind of create that repeat business. The next area, I've talked about local rec centers and community centers. Those can be a little bit tricky, the way that they want to pay you. Sometimes they have revenue sharing, like they're like, yeah, you can come use our rec center, but you got to pay, registration needs to come through us, and then we keep 30%, you keep 70. I don't like that kind of split, but you do what you need to do to get started. And the ideal part is that you would just either pay for a spot, or it's like 90-10% or 80-20, but 70-30 is a lot in my cases. I used to settle for those things in the early days, and sometimes you have to, just to get your feet in the door. But it kind of helps you to become a reputable person. If a local rec center has you, it's definitely safer. Also, like usually they'll have you background screened, and there's other people in the room and facility and things like that. So you definitely need to think about safety and making sure you're presented as a safe person, and you are a safe person, of course. And we have some code of conduct recommendations that we have through Artsy, that if you were to join Artsy and you learn more through our programming, we have some code of conduct type recommendations and things like that, like to always have two adults present, or to never be alone, with one-on-one with children and things like that. So that leads me to tell you a little bit more about Create in the Classroom. Create in the Classroom is, sorry, my throat is really scratchy. Create in the Classroom is a product that we have at Artsy. And so if I've never told you about Artsy, or you're unfamiliar, so Artsy is an association that we created in 2018, and it's a place where we have all these resources. We have paintings, we have flyers, we have social media graphics, we have all sorts of things that you can kind of bundle and have, so that you have a faster, quicker way to save money and time while you're building your business, right? We also have training, and Create in the Classroom is one of our brands, or one of our products that we offer to our Artsy members, so that you can learn how to take your business into the classroom. And so let me share with you more on this. And by the way, we have a whole training on this. Like there's a whole nother video on this. And I'll put the link in the chat. But for now, I can show you some pictures of that. So let's get to PowerPoint. All right, so Create in the Classroom is where you're going to come into a school, and you're going to present yourself as an art ambassador, which you are. You're an ambassador for art. And we have a whole curriculum from basically August, September through like April and May. We try to tell you not to do anything in May, because May is the absolute worst month for schools and for parents to be doing activities. So really it's through April. And what we do is we provide like a fun curriculum for you to come. And it primarily is painting, doing all paintings. And you're going to pick, for example, like like an after school club, if you think of that, right? So the kids get out of school about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever, and they come on over. They either come to the cafeteria, they come to the artwork room, they come to the library, wherever they've set you up at, and you have 10 kids, 15 kids, 40 kids, it all varies, right? And you're just painting with them. And this is an after school program. Parents pay for it separately, schools do not pay for it. And when you join Artsy, you get to use the name Create in the Classroom. We do have you get background screened, and then we share with you principal letters, parent letters, all of that jazz. And then we provide a curriculum for you. Now you can follow it or you can do your own thing. You don't have to follow it. These are suggestions for you. And we have a whole variety of things, between what's trending. We have some mental health things that you can, have a fun discussion with those kids. Well, mental health, fun discussion, things like that with the kids. And really what you're doing is you are exposing them to art. You're enhancing the art with them, but you're also another safe person after school for them to be able to do something. We really are just exposing them to art. And we do recommend sometimes you have space to bring a little snack because after school they're hungry. And we also teach you, to let one of the parents' kids paint for free. That way that parent might be there with you and help you stay after school. So we have so many tips for Create in the Classroom. And we do have an entire training module for this. And every artwork piece comes with like some sort of activity outline that you can do, not just with the painting, snack ideas, a little activity idea. If the class, finishes up early, you can tie in like an entire theme. So this is called Create in the Classroom. And again, if this is something that you decide to join Artsy, it's a training that we provide to help you build that business up. And the reason we love Create in the Classroom is because we do believe in being art ambassadors. Like we want to help schools that have had to make budget cuts with art to be able to bring it back in and introduce it. But also, it's just a good thing for kids to have an extracurricular activity. And like I said, you have some kids who aren't sports, aren't on teams, and especially I work in mentoring now, right? What research shows is kids who are participating in sports, they build up that grit challenge, they build up a network of friends and peers because they're in a sport. But art, and this is why I love after school programs and art, creating that club creates that sense of belonging for all those kids who maybe they're more artsy than they are active or athletic, right? And so it is very, very important work. And if you don't want to work nights and weekends doing birthday parties and mom's night outs, like Create in the Classroom is a great way to build up a business after school. And for those of you who have children, like I did working with my kids in middle school, I could easily do these things after school and my own kids could come to those things, right? And so getting that creative spark to plan around your needs and the schedule that you have, Create in the Classroom was definitely a way for us to go. And we learned the language. Now it's not going to be perfect. We learned a lot going through our training, and what our moms in our local schools were going through is some schools have policies. They don't allow parents to have after school clubs. Like you have to be some third party vendor. And so then you just had to go to a different district. But we have a website. If you go to createintheclassroom.com, we do have that website and you can go see more information about that too. All right, I just lost all my notes. So let me find them. Okay, so that's Create in the Classroom. The last thing I want to tell you are just some other ideas. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, they're working on their art badge. So, and we had a lot of people who worked in like North Dakota and different farm areas. So 4-H, fantastic. You guys can paint horses, and Boys and Girl Scout clubs, they need to get their art badge. And so when they're fundraising, which it's almost Girl Scout cookie season, right? They're making all this money. They need to spend that money doing extracurricular. So when you go buy those Girl Scout cookies, you take your business card and you're like, hey, when you need a paint party, when you're earning your art badge, give me a call, right? And now I get to paint with those Girl Scouts. So I had a Girl Scout troop that we painted with a couple years back to back, getting our art badge. And painting never goes out of style. You just keep doing it over and over. And then the last one I will talk about is fundraisers. So if you're like, I'm just starting out my business, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know where to find all these people, you can contact local schools and areas, contact their PTO and say, hey, do you want to have a fundraiser at your school doing a painting party? And so you create a mommy and me or a parents night with kids and they're all painting paintings. You get the word out, right? While you're facilitating a fundraiser, you give 50% of your proceeds back to the school, back to the PTA. But now you have an entirely captive audience, right? Of moms and parents who want to have mom's night out. Now you have a bunch of kids who are like, I want to do this for my birthday, right? And so your business card is taped on every canvas. You're handing it out. You've presented yourself at that event as a fun person who, if someone wants to invite you to their house to do a paint party. And that is a great way to promote your business. It's also a great way to help the school fundraise and also start to begin to build your name up in that area as someone who can do this. And so those are the different ideas that I have. And here's the thing I know about myself as someone who loves to watch live videos and live training is you're going to just keep watching more and more videos because you're never going to feel ready. But I want to challenge you to take some action today. Take some sort of action right now today to build your business. If you are new to starting, you've never started a paint party business, I want you to go find some images online. In fact, if you haven't been watching my videos, we've been giving out some tutorials, right? And I have given out a free stencil. Actually, in this video, I think in the email, if you got it, I gave out Arctic Trio. And a couple days ago, I did a video on artwork and I gave out nine trees of painting. So you have access to these images, right? You can go on social media right now and say, hey, would you want to have a paint party? Who do you know? Would you have your kids do a birthday party paint party? And if I were to do that, would you book me, right? This is with your safe community of people. And have you ever been to a birthday party where someone was doing painting with kids? Give me your feedback. What do you think, right? Take some sort of action. And now we're not looking for validation from our people because some people are like, oh, I hate painting, blah, blah, blah. But I promise you're actually going to get some positive response of, I've always wanted to do this. Yes, Judy's birthday party is coming up in February. I would love to book a party, right? So you got to take some action because I know what it's like to start something new that you're like nervous or scared. And so I know how hard that is to start, but you can do it. I did it and I loved it, right? And no regrets of having this beautiful artwork journey. The other thing is you might be here because you do it a little bit. You don't even know. Maybe you've started to do a paint party business and you're just trying to figure out which route to take. And maybe kids is one of those pathways, one of those routes that you want to take. And I'll tell you, just stay consistent. So it might not pick up immediately, like you're not going to be jam-packed book. It does take, especially creating the classroom, it takes time to build up that business. To create a weekly camp, it takes time to build that up because somebody comes and joins, you might get 5 kids to join your weekly camp and then word of mouth begins to spread, right? You start posting pictures. Those moms start posting pictures and then kids are like, oh, I want to do that. Moms are like, I want my kid to do that, right? So you got to build up your business for sure, but it all starts with starting somewhere small. And today's Friday, Friday morning, you can do a quick little post in your friend group around your, best friends and things like that. And just say, hey, would you do this? Is this something that you would do? Or what advice would you give me if I was thinking about starting something like this? All right. Well, I believe in you. I believe that you can create a life you love. And I'm here to help you create that persona. I'm here to help you with any artwork and tips. Artsy is here to support you. We have an annual membership. It's a one-time fee. We don't charge for little things here and there. It's $297. That's less than $25 a month. And you have access to training, create in the classroom. You have access to hundreds of paintings. And more importantly, you have access to business coaching and ideas from a community who is trying to create a life they love using art as well. All right. Well, you have a great weekend and so great to see you. And my throat's kind of feeling better. My chest is a little filled with congestion, but it's going to be a good weekend.